We got disturbing events accidentally captured on TV. I thought I seen this, but I guess we haven't.
A woman said the wrong word on TV and accidentally revealed she was dating a killer. A live baseball game became the worst night of a child's life, and a fun outdoor event ended with people running for their lives. These are disturbing events accidentally captured on TV. The goal, as usual, is 2.5 million subscribers by the end of 2026. It is crazy, so it would mean the world if you
I swear we just seen a video like this.
subscribe, and I will do my very best to put out the best videos I can for you. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. The Witness with a Dark Secret.
I just
In
got me a
August 2002,
sub.
Britain was looking for two missing girls. The story was everywhere. Reporters were interviewing anyone who might have seen them. One local man appeared on camera acting like a helpful witness. But there was something viewers didn't know. He was the man responsible for the missing girls, and he was pretending to help solve a crime he committed himself. The girls were named Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman. They were only 10. Police launched a massive search. At the time, it was the largest missing child search in the country. Soon, TV crews arrived in Soham. They followed the search as it unfolded.
The search for Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman has tonight been extended to fields near their primary school.
Reporters wanted to retrace the girls' final movements, so they spoke to the people in the community. That was when Ian Huntley stepped forward. Huntley was a caretaker at the girls' school. He also lived nearby. That made his story important. A reporter interviewed him on TV.
How do we know they were here at 6:15? Well, we have an eyewitness. Ian Huntley here is a familiar figure.
Huntley seemed genuinely concerned, but he was about to lie to the entire country. The reporter asked Huntley what he knew, and Huntley claimed he saw the girls shortly before they vanished. He said he was outside his house when the girls walked by.
Well, I don't know the girls. I stood on the front doorstep grooming my dog down. They just came across.
He claimed Holly and Jessica stopped to say
Yo, UK people had the craziest accents. I was grooming my dog down.
hello. Then the girls
As I stuttered, what a dumbass.
walked away.
And off the walked in the direction of the library over there.
Yo,
The reporter pointed out how important Huntley's sighting was.
And you may, as it turned out, have been the last person to
second.
actually chat to them before they vanished.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Huntley seemed worried, just like the rest of the community.
While there's no news, then there's still that glimmer of hope, and that's basically all we're all hanging on to.
At the time, the interview looked normal. A local man was sharing what he knew, but Huntley was creating a false trail, and everyone was about to discover the disturbing truth. During the investigation, the police looked into Huntley. After all, he was the last person who saw the girls before they disappeared. But Huntley said he couldn't have done anything wrong. He had an alibi. He claimed he was with his girlfriend, Maxine Carr, all night. When officers questioned Maxine, she backed up Huntley's story. TV crews were still in the area. Since Maxine lived in the community, reporters interviewed her as well. But one part of her interview stood out. She spoke about the missing girls in past tense, almost like she knew they were never coming back.
And that's the kind of girl she was. She was just lovely, really lovely.
That raised a serious red flag, so police checked Maxine's alibi, and they found a problem. Maxine told officers that she was with Huntley the night the girls disappeared, but that was not true. Police discovered she was miles away in another town, Grimsby. That meant Maxine lied. And now
Yo, that's actually crazy, bro. Like, you know that they got the GPS on your phone, car, whatever. Like, why even lie?
investigators had one big question. Why was she lying? Suddenly, because of this, Huntley became the prime suspect. Officers searched Huntley's home and his workplace. That search exposed the truth. Police found burned clothing in Huntley's storage unit at the school. The clothes belonged to Holly and Jessica. On August 17th, 2002, police arrested Ian Huntley and Maxine Carr.
In the last few hours, a 28-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman have been arrested.
That same day, police found Holly and Jessica's remains in a ditch in Suffolk. Huntley's TV interview now looked completely different. He was never a helpful witness. He was the killer hiding in plain sight. After Huntley's arrest, police looked into his past. They found a long history of inappropriate behavior involving children. At trial, Huntley confessed to the crime, but he claimed it was an accident. In December 2003, he was given 2 life sentences. Maxine Carr admitted lying to protect her.
How How the fuck do you kill 2 kids on accident?
Huntley. She was sentenced to 3.5 years in jail for perverting the course of justice. Then, more than 20 years later, the story had one final twist. In February 2026, Huntley was attacked in prison. He passed away from his injuries in March 2026. The viewers in this next chapter thought they were watching a funny moment, but they were actually watching a man fighting for his life. The joke that made a country cry. Tetsushi Yanagira was a Japanese TV host and comedian. His job was to make people laugh, but one day he made a mistake. Instead of making viewers laugh, he almost lost his life on live TV. It happened in June 2008. Tetsushi was hosting a mud wrestling game show on TV. The rules were simple. 2 people stood back to back on a raised platform. Once the round started, each person tried to push the other into the mud. On camera, the mud pit looked harmless, but in reality, it was extremely dangerous. The top layer was soft, but only a few inches below that, the ground was hard and solid. The games began. A few people were pushed into the mud. Everyone laughed. No one got hurt. Then someone in the crowd suggested the host, Tetsushi, should try it. He agreed. He climbed onto the platform.
Yo, that's crazy.
Smiling and joking with the crowd. The audience was excited, but within minutes, the laughter would turn into panic. Tetsushi stepped into position on the platform. Almost immediately, he looked unsteady. They started the challenge, and he quickly lost his balance. He waved his arms and fell headfirst into the mud. Viewers burst into laughter, but the moment Tetsushi hit the ground, he stopped moving.
Bro, that's his dumb ass fault. Look at this. Why the fuck would he dive headfirst in the mud?
The impact affected his spine. That meant he couldn't move even if he wanted to. But nobody understood what happened. The audience thought he was staying still to make the moment funnier. So the laughter continued, and the cameras kept rolling. Almost a minute passed before people realized something was wrong. The broadcast quickly ended, and Tetsushi was rushed to a nearby hospital. Doctors said he suffered severe spinal injuries. He couldn't walk again. After 10 months in the hospital, he went home in a wheelchair. He later appeared on television a few times after the accident. Viewers were heartbroken when they saw him again. They all saw the accident happen live, and they laughed because they thought they were watching a joke. Our next chapter is about a hostage situation that was broadcast live on national television. The criminal who wanted an audience. In December 2014, Australians watched a life and death situation unfold in real time. 18 people were being held hostage in a cafe. The gunman was not asking for money, and that made him even more dangerous. News cameras captured every tense moment. As the hours passed, it started to feel like nobody would make it out alive. The incident happened at the Lind Chocolate Cafe in Sydney. It was early in the morning. People were coming in to grab coffee before work. Then a man named Manharan Monis walked into the cafe. Monis ordered a cake and sat down like a normal customer. But after a while, he asked to speak to the manager. The manager walked over to talk to him. Almost immediately, people noticed something was wrong. The manager looked terrified.
And then I just saw Tori facing him, bright red, hands down, sad and frightened.
Moments later, Monis pulled out a firearm. He ordered the manager to lock the doors. Everyone inside the cafe was now his hostage. Monis claimed Australia was under attack by the Islamic State, or in other words, ISIS. At the time, ISIS was one of the most feared extremist groups in the world. Police arrived within minutes. While officers surrounded the cafe, they ran a background check on
Isn't that a bit ironic?
Monis. They wanted to understand who he was and what he might want. What they discovered about Monis made the situation even more disturbing.
Manharan Monis was a self-styled sheikh well known to ASIO and police. He'd been charged with organising the murder of his ex-wife.
At the time of the siege, Monis was out on bail. A psychiatrist also described him as a malignant narcissist obsessed with attention and control. That detail was important because as the siege continued, police realized Monis was not doing this for money. He was trying to send a message to the world, and he had no problem hurting people to get his point across. Soon the cafe was surrounded by reporters and live TV cameras. The siege was now a media spectacle. Monis seemed to enjoy the attention, as one hostage later explained.
He wanted public acknowledgement of what he was doing.
Monis forced hostages to stand near the windows. Then he made them hold up a black flag associated with extremist groups. Then Monis forced another hostage to call the media and read out his demands.
This is a message that I'm reading from someone who's standing in front of me. There's bombs in 3 locations.
Okay.
Monis claimed he planted 3 explosive devices around Sydney. That threat caused massive panic. Parts of the city were evacuated and locked down. But inside the cafe, the hostages faced a much more immediate danger. They were trapped with a man who was clearly unstable. The longer the siege continued, the more agitated Monis became. Soon, the desperate hostages began looking for any chance to escape. As the siege dragged on, Monis tried to maintain control. He ordered the lights turned off. He demanded police move further away from the windows. He wanted less pressure from outside. Then several hostages noticed an opportunity. While Monis was distracted, they made a run for it.
What you're seeing here is a woman now fleeing from another exit from this building, so that means 2 more hostages have fled. We've got 5 in total.
Every time someone escaped, Monis got angrier. And the angrier he got, the more unpredictable he became. Shortly after 2 a.m., Monis snapped. He wanted to prove he was still in control. So Monis turned on the cafe manager. He grabbed him and pulled the trigger. Just like that, an innocent man lost his life. The police outside heard the shot. They believed the remaining hostages were in immediate danger. So officers decided to storm the cafe. TV cameras captured the chaos live. Monis was injured by police. He didn't survive. But Monis was not the only person who passed away. One of his hostages also lost her life. She was hit by bullet fragments during the police raid. The surviving hostages ran out into the street. It was over. The siege lasted 16 hours and almost everything was aired on TV. Although Monis was gone, the police were still worried about the devices he placed around the city. Later, they found out he lied. There were none. Police also confirmed that Monis acted alone. It seemed he didn't have any ties to ISIS. Up next is a man who admitted to something so disturbing on TV that police showed up
Why would he try to make
to arrest him outside the studio. The interview that ended in handcuffs. In 2025, a husband and wife were found buried in their own backyard. Someone ended their lives and hid the remains there. The police had one suspect. Then that suspect did something that no one expected. He went on TV to tell his side of the story. When he was done speaking, he didn't just seem guilty, he seemed insane. To understand why that interview was so disturbing, we need to know who the victims were. Their names were Franz and Theresia Kraus. They were both over 80 years old, and they lived in a beautiful home in Albany, New York. Sometime in 2017, they disappeared. Neighbors stopped seeing them, so people went to check the house. They found the couple's son, Lorenz, living there. When they asked about his parents, Lorenz had an answer ready. He claimed his mom and dad moved.
I feel like you can just start to tell, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like just by seeing him, he looks a bit unstable. He doesn't look happy.
When they asked about his parents,
his last name is
had an answer ready. He claimed his mom and dad moved back to Germany. Franz and Theresia were German immigrants, so the story sounded believable. No one even tried to file a missing person report. 8 years passed, and in 2025, something finally triggered an investigation. Social security officers noticed Franz and Theresia were still receiving payments, but no one seemed to know where they were. That triggered a fraud investigation, and the first step was a welfare check at the Kraus home. Investigators found Lorenz still living there. Once again, he told the same story. He said his parents moved back to Germany, but investigators were not convinced. They believed Lorenz was collecting their social security benefits and using the funds for his own personal use. So they went to the police, and officers showed up at the house with a search warrant. They went through the home, searched the backyard, and then found the bodies. The remains belonged to Franz and Theresia. Lorenz was the obvious suspect, especially.
I feel like did it not say he was there for over 5 years though? Wasn't it 8? I'm pretty sure he said it was there for 8 years. How are you there for 8 years and you didn't have the bodies good enough? Like, he must have buried, like, threw some sand on top of them. Like, obviously, I'm not, encouraging this. I'm glad they were found. But this nigga is stupid.
Because he told everyone his parents were in Germany. Most people in that situation would get a lawyer. But Lorenz made his way to the nearest TV station. Lorenz contacted a local TV station asking to be interviewed. The reporters knew he was the man whose parents were found in the backyard, so they agreed to interview him. It began. At first, Lorenz talked about his parents getting older, but his speech was confusing.
When elderly start to fall down, the time comes that they started, beginning of the end.
It sounded like he was saying his parents got old, weak, and struggled to live normal lives. Then the reporter asked a direct question.
So, did you kill your parents as a mercy killing to put them out of their misery?
Lorenz tried to avoid giving a clear answer, but the reporter kept pressing until he answered.
What did you do to your parents?
I buried them in their property.
You buried them in the backyard of that house in Albany.
Right.
Lawrence confessed barely 10 minutes into the interview. The reporter asked what was going through his mind when it happened. Lawrence's answer was cold.
Not thoughts, action. Make sure it's done.
He didn't sound remorseful.
I did my duty to my parents.
But Lawrence did not stop there. He wanted others to copy him.
My goal is for the American people to recognize that there's 40 million boomers. They're all going to go through the same kind of problems. We need to widen up the law so that people can deal with these kind of problems.
After the interview ended, Lawrence walked out of the studio. Police were waiting for him. He was arrested almost immediately. But even after his arrest, Lawrence still wanted to talk. The next day, the same TV station interviewed Lawrence again. Except this time, he was behind bars. But he still believed he made the right decision. He even expected immunity because he felt he did America a service.
And so I appeal to that as having prosecutorial immunity for this case.
Lawrence Krauss was charged with multiple crimes, including identity theft. He pleaded not guilty. His case is still moving through court. Lawrence gave police one of the most disturbing on-camera confessions ever recorded. This next broadcast showed people running for their lives on...
Yo, that don't make sense to me. Like, this court system does not make sense to me.
The worst 7 seconds on TV. In August 1988, 30,000 people showed up at the Ramstein air base in Germany. They came for an event called Flugtag 88. It was one of the biggest military air shows in Europe. During the event, military jets performed stunts in the sky. The crowd watched in awe. That day...
Yo, have y'all ever seen this? I've never seen a jet or a plane ever do no cool tricks in the sky before. I mean... Yeah, I mean, I've seen, the wind, like, normal stuff that comes out of it, but not no, like, sky paint. Like, what do you even call that? That's some sky paint right there.
TV cameras were set up, but it only took 7 seconds for the
what
beautiful display to turn into a disaster. The main attraction was the Italian Air Force aerobatic team. They were known as the Frecce di
I would watch it personally. I mean, I don't know.
Colori. The pilots flew 10 jets.
That right there is sky paint. Look at that sky paint.
In perfect formation while colored smoke streamed behind them. The crowd was excited. Then the Italian pilots prepared for their most famous stunt. It was called Pierced Heart. Some jets would curve left, others would curve right, one would fly through the middle. Together, they would form a giant heart shape in the sky. The team had performed this stunt dozens of times before, but not everyone believed it was safe.
The Protestant church president had warned against going to this flight day event because something could happen and that it was simply dangerous.
The warning was ignored. The Pierced Heart performance started, and within minutes, the sky erupted into fire. The pilots began the stunt at 3:40 p.m.
The tricolori, or tricolor arrows, tried to execute a difficult maneuver when something went wrong.
One pilot flew too low, but the jet was moving too fast to correct the mistake. Several jets collided in mid-air. Unfortunately, the jets were only 100 feet above the ground. Burning debris rained down. The crowd had no time to flee. The entire incident took less than 7 seconds. TV cameras were broadcasting the show, so viewers at home saw everything. Eventually, the smoke cleared. Reporters interviewed the survivors at the scene.
Everybody was just running away from the fire because the cars got caught on fire, the trucks caught on fire. But one thing I got to say, the emergency people were there quick.
70 people lost their lives. Hundreds more were injured.
Yo, that's actually crazy.
Disaster changed air show safety rules forever. After the incident, Germany temporarily banned all public air shows. Countries around the world also introduced stricter safety rules for aerial performances. This next video was so shocking that a family begged the world
I was about to say, that's probably why I got these boring ass shows now.
Not to air it. The game that destroyed a family. In July 2011, a baseball game was played in Arlington, Texas. As usual, it was aired on TV. In the crowd was
I think I seen this one.
39-year-old firefighter named Shannon Stone. He was there with his 6-year-old son, Cooper. It was meant to be a special night for them, but before the game was over, that father-son moment would become a tragedy on live TV. The Texas Rangers were playing the Oakland Athletics. Shannon and Cooper were sitting near left field. Cooper was still very young, but he loved baseball. A foul ball flew near their section.
All right, before we get into this, I ain't gonna lie, like, basketball, football, boxing, UFC, martial arts, those are entertaining sports. When you start to get into soccer, All right, I'm about to piss a lot of people off with that one. When you start to get into soccer, baseball, tennis, golf, golf is all right. Not to watch, to play. Soccer is all right to play, not to watch. Like, sports is fun to play. Not all sports is fun to watch. Football, like soccer, that's terrible to watch. Not gonna lie. A bunch of grown men running up and down a long ass field. Baseball, low-key boring as hell to watch. Tennis? Who the fuck is watching tennis?
Line, but foul out.
A player jogged over to pick it up, but instead of keeping the ball, he tossed it into the crowd. That was normal at baseball games. Players often gave foul balls to fans as souvenirs. This time, the ball was tossed towards Shannon and Cooper. Shannon reached out to catch it. He wanted it as a souvenir for his son, but in 1 second, that sweet moment turned fatal. Shannon caught the ball, but in the process, he lost his balance. He went over the railing. The broadcast didn't show where he landed, but people in the stadium knew it was serious.
I think somebody fell out of the stands of left field trying to field a baseball.
On TV, the live broadcast moved past the moment.
Nah, I ain't never seen this. I thought the kid was ready to get hit in the head with the ball.
But behind the scenes, the situation was turning into an emergency. Emergency crews rushed to Shannon. He fell about 20 feet. He was still conscious when medics reached him. Shannon's first concern was his son, Cooper. He told the paramedic, "Y'all need to check on my son." Those were some of his final words. Doctors couldn't save him. Shannon passed away minutes later. Meanwhile, the game continued. Only
Rest in peace.
After the game did players and fans learn the full news. The players were devastated, but soon the grief turned into a scandal because this wasn't the first fall at that stadium. A year earlier in the same stadium, another fan fell while reaching for a ball. That fan was injured, but he survived. Now it had happened again, and this time a father lost his life. People blamed the stadium, saying it could have been prevented. The authorities were under pressure, so in the months that followed, the stadium raised the railings and added safety features around the stands. But while the stadium focused on safety, the victim's family had another concern. They felt people were disrespecting his memory. Footage of the fall spread quickly. News stations, sports shows, and even websites replayed it. The family begged broadcasters to stop showing the footage. They were worried about his son, Cooper. He already saw his dad fall in real life. They didn't want him to accidentally see it on TV again. Many news outlets respected the family's request. Later, hundreds of people attended Shannon's funeral.
Stone was a firefighter, husband, and father. With his young son at a Rangers game last Thursday, he reached for a ball tossed to the stands, lost his balance.
To honor him, a statue
rest in peace.
Of Shannon and Cooper was built outside the Rangers ballpark. It shows a father holding his son's hand. The Texas Rangers Foundation also set up a memorial fund to help the Stone family. This next chapter is about a man whose final moments were treated as entertainment. The night wrestling became fatal. Professional wrestling is built on illusion. The characters, rivalries, and
wrestling after First Blood, that's why everything was so buns. I'm telling you.
Stunts are all planned, but during one live pay-per-view, the crowd saw something that didn't feel scripted. The cameras quickly turned away. The announcers didn't know what to say. The viewers slowly realized something was terribly wrong. The event was called Over the Edge. It was held inside an arena in Kansas City in May 1999. One of the wrestlers on the show was Owen Hart, but he was performing as Blue Blazer. And for his entrance, Owen had something...
Yo, this is a crazy ass mask, bro. Look at that nigga mask.
A big plan. He wasn't just going to walk into the ring, he was going to fly into it. Owen would be lowered from the rafters. Then he would land in the ring and continue the act. It wasn't the first time he performed this flying entrance, but this time it was happening during a major event on live TV. There was no room for mistakes. Sadly, a mistake happened, a fatal one. About an hour into the show, Owen moved into position on the rafters. He was supposed to descend slowly, but the harness accidentally released while Owen was still high above the ring. He fell fast and stopped moving. Meanwhile, the fans were cheering. Some thought it was part of the act. Others thought it was a doll that fell from the ceiling, but his fellow wrestlers knew it was real. The broadcast cut away from the scene. Medics rushed into the ring to perform CPR.
A very serious situation here at this point in time is being attended to by the EMTs.
Owen was taken to a hospital. Sadly, he didn't make it.
I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died.
Owen was only 34, but the controversy did not end there. After the tragedy, most fans expected the event to stop. But after a brief intermission, the show continued almost as if nothing happened. That made a lot of people mad. The decision to continue the show caused a lot of backlash. But there is an even bigger issue. Some people blamed the organizers for not doing enough to prevent the accident. At a press conference after the accident, one reporter asked about it.
Well, it would appear that there were no precautionary measures taken. Why not?
First of all, I resent your tone. This was a tragic accident.
The questions did not end there. Owen's widow, Martha, later sued the WWF. She argued that the stunt was not handled safely. About a year later, she received an...
But is that not his fault? Like, I get it. Like, you know, get your money, girl, whatever. But I feel like he chose to, you know, do that. Like, he didn't have to do that. He could have easily walked in. He could have ran in, rolled in even. But he chose to come down trying to fly and shit, be Superman. I mean, rest in peace. That should have never happened, but still.
$1 billion settlement. Many wrestling events are still aired live, but today companies put more effort into keeping performers safe because no one wants another live tragedy like that again. Every story in this video started as a normal day. A baseball game, an air show, a wrestling match.
Yeah, this was a crazy ass video. I'm gonna see you on the next one.